It's time for the poem of the day. um, so, what's in a name? This is a poem from The Seven-Story Tree. It's not called What's in a Name, but my name is in the title. For those of you who don't know, my last name is Story. And you might think, wow, what a perfect name for a writer, right? It wasn't. Like when I got on Facebook, no one could find me really because, and sometimes I didn't want people from my past or my like high school to find me. So at first on Facebook, I did not want to put my maiden name because I honestly don't want all those people finding me. Shh, no offense if I know you from high school. Not all of them, just some of them. And so, but there's 10 million trillion probably Susan stories, and then Susan's story comes up, you know, anybody named Susan with a story. So you think so, but then, and it must have been around 2014, it was around 2014, 2015, right before I did this book on Amazon Create-A-Space, where I saw Florence writing Gale on Twitter. And I'm like, that's clever. Florence writing Gale. And then the thing with wolves came up. And actually I met my first wolf. I mean, I was so naive when I left my marriage. I met my ex when he lived next door to me. I was literally the girl next door. Literally and figuratively and all of that. I was the girl next door. You know, very naive and trusting and Christian and goody-goody, and so my ex and I started dating. So I didn't meet him when I was 17, because we met when we were much younger. We moved in next door to me, and I moved in next door to him. Sorry, my family moved in next door to his family when I was 12 and he was 15. True story. We lived next door to the Stories. So, yeah. And got married at 19. I was 19. He was a few years older than me. And so when I separated from my husband, I was still very naive. And I got into situation after situation after situation where I was taken for a ride. Yeah. And I've never really been very little, except for when I was little. But the story of Little Red Riding Hood just sort of goes. And so the thing with wolves came up, and Florence writing Gale, and I said, how about Red Riding Hood? But there is another spoken word poet in Miami with that name, Red Riding Hood. And that's why it's not just Red Riding Hood, because somebody said, you know, why don't you just have it Red Riding Hood, not Redheaded Riding Hood. But it is Redheaded Riding Hood. But you can call me Red for short. And the poet in Miami, she's African American, so not gonna confuse us, maybe, hopefully. Um, but that's how I got the name Redheaded Riding Hood. And it's unique, and you can find me on all social media. You can Google Redheaded Riding Hood, riding with a W, and all of my stuff comes up. I got redheadedridinghood.com. I'll put that link below. But this poem from the 7-Story Tree is called His Story. And the first wolf I met was a singer who basically made an advance towards me, and I found out he was married. Christian singer. So, and I always tell stories in my poems, and I also had met someone with the same last name, and her name was actually Liberty. So that was cool. And the start of the poem came about, somebody asks me, I can't really even determine how long it takes me to write a poem, because some are quick and come like that. Some I write half of it, and then like a couple of years later I'll write, I'll find it in my old journal, and then I'll write the rest of the poem. Yeah. So that poem took 2 years to write, and I don't know. But this one I think came pretty fast, and I had met this person with a name, and then it's about the first wolf that I met. Actually, I can thank him for my name, because they were going along, and actually a nickname I had that I really didn't like. And I never dreamed I would ever be saying, "Call me Red," ever again, because this person didn't ask me permission or anything. And since I was very tall, and it was my friend in high school from Guard, from marching band, her dad called me Big Red, like the chewing gum. And I didn't like that. So now I'm Little Red, riding, although I'm not little at all. No, I'm not little. I'm Redheaded Riding Hood. But this poem is about my other name, which is Story. And it started because I saw a Powerade coupon that said, "Every story begins somewhere." And it's called His Story. When I meet you, you become part of my story. It was the first days of spring when I met you. I was enchanted and infuriated all at once. I couldn't believe it. I didn't know what to do. I would have loved to go with you anywhere. Freedomville? It's somewhere I go solo. Yet I am not alone. He's with me through the fire and the storm. Yesterday I met her. She had the same name as me, Liberty. Yes, where his spirit is, she is there. He amazes me, he redeems me, he calls me as his own. I will never be yours, but that's okay, because I will always be his. There's always usually a lyric. And at this time, like whatever I'm stuck on listening to, at this time when I wrote this poem, I was very much always listening to Carrie Job. And that's from a Carrie Job song. He amazes me, he redeems me. Wait, no. I can't think of the song. I will link the video below. Well, I'll find it for you, and I'll link it below from a Carrie. He amazes me, he redeems me, he calls me as his own. That's from a Carrie Job song. So anyways, that's the poem, His Story, that started with a Powerade coupon. Every story begins somewhere. So Yes, I'm going to talk more about wolves tomorrow because I just kept running into them. Beware of wolves, people. Yeah, and so I really feel God orchestrated me having this name. And I'm to warn people. Beware of wolves. When I sign my book, I sign it Beware of Wolves, and I put Matthew 7:15, which says, it's specifically talking about wolves in the church, but they are everywhere. But they can be in the church too. Beware of the false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravenous wolves. It's Matthew 7:15. Love y'all. Bye.